Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article which is written by a woman titled, Is Equality Ruining Your Marriage? And when I say equality in this title, I don't mean being equal to do things equally and so forth. I'm talking about the equality that the you-know-what group has been pushing to make men be more like women and women be more like men. That type of equality. The bullshit equality. And pretty much here she's talking about how, guess what? It's not working out the way that people of the you-know-what group have been trying to push. It's having a negative impact on marriages, and no surprise where the marriage rate has been declining so much over the last few decades, and the divorce rate has gone higher because you got a whole society now of men have been conditioned and brainwashed to behave more like women, and women to behave more like men. It's throwing everything out of whack, and it's no wonder. And there's other things too, we all can agree upon that, which I can talk about another time, but for today we're going to be talking about that thing. So the article starts saying, new research at the University of Illinois examined data on nearly 1,500 men and 1,800 women between the ages of 52 and 60, and found that couples who resist traditional gender roles or who shoot for the so-called equal marriage are less happy than those who swim with the tide. Gee, big fucking surprise. Researchers Karen Kramer and Sunjin Pak found that when women's paychecks increased, they reported more symptoms of depression. Yeah, well, they're not feeling very depressed when they go shoe shopping or purse shopping with that extra money. But all jokes aside, yeah, maybe they do because that puts them more in the provider role, which generally is the men's role. I mean, that's always been the traditional role for men, and while the woman, her role has always been the caregiver and taking care of the kids in the home and all that, which we're going to get into. But the opposite effect was found in men. Their psychological well-being was highest when they were the primary wage earners. Exactly. The man has been the provider since the beginning of time, when he was in the cave and would go out with the other men and hunt animals and bring back the kill for the wives to cook over the fire and so forth, while the woman was there taking care of the kids, keeping the cave clean, little gathering here and there, gathering berries and fruits and all that. And I got a lot of haters that would love the fact that I'm comparing men and so forth as cavemen because they think I'm a caveman, but that's where it all started. And up until a few decades ago, generally the man was the provider and the woman was the caregiver. Okay? And I'm not saying that everybody's capable of doing other things, but still, that was the role that it was in. And guess what? Things were, in terms of the family unit and relationships, much, much better than it is now. It's an absolute mess here in the West. One of many, many reasons why I tell you guys, don't get married. It's not worth it. Goes on to say, we observed a statistically significant and substantial difference in depressive symptoms between men and women in our study, said Kramer. The results supported the overarching hypothesis well-being was lower for mothers and fathers who violated gender expectations about the division of paid labor, and higher for parents who conform to these expectations. Yeah, it's no surprise. Guy loses his job and he can't provide for his family. He's going to feel very depressed and bummed because that's his traditional role. It's wired in us. And while a lot of women, when they get to their late 20s and definitely their early 30s, their biological clocks are going crazy because they're wired, nature designed them to be mothers and caregivers and care for their children and all that. And if they haven't reached that point, they start losing it. Or when women can't, because of some issue, can't have children, they really get depressed, because they can't be mothers. But members of the group I'm not going to mention, they've been pushing for switching the roles. And in their mind, that's how things should be, but it just doesn't work that way. And the numbers speak for itself in terms of the highest divorce rates we've ever had and how less and less people are getting married. Of course, there's lots and lots of reasons why they're not, but this is just one other thing to add to that reason. Goes on to say, this was true even for couples who had an egalitarian view of work and family. Modern views notwithstanding, men's health took a hit when their earnings shrank, clearly suggesting the traditional role of primary earner is still very important to men. Absolutely. While these findings aren't surprising to many of us, they certainly defy the cultural narrative. Americans are forever being told that gender equality, which is no longer defined as equal opportunity, but as male and females interchangeably, is the only road to a happy life. Yeah, bullshit. How well has that idea worked out? Right? Come on here. If happiness is not the result, well, that's society's fault. Our expectations about gender roles have been slower to evolve, some say. Men and women who deviate from conventional gender roles, especially fathers who leave work to care for their children full-time, may be perceived negatively, which in turn can affect their mental health, writes Claudia Tanner at Mail Online. That's not it. Men and women are not interchangeable beings, pure and simple. They may be capable of being breadwinners and full-time parents, but that doesn't mean they want to perform these tasks in equal fervor. Typically speaking, a man's identity is inextricably linked to his paycheck. A woman is linked to her children. That does not hold true for every woman, and every man doesn't change the fact that what drives most women is different from what drives most men. Yeah. Giving birth is a woman's unparalleled accomplishment. Her first instinct is to provide for that child physically and emotionally. A man's first instinct is to protect and provide for that child. That is his unparalleled accomplishment. See, since the beginning of time, that's how it's been. And it's gone that way up until a few decades ago, where some people thought, you know what, this isn't fair, let's switch things around. And how well has that worked out? It's time to stop pretending the culture is to blame for why equal marriages backfire. And she says in quote, in parentheses, I use the term equal marriages reluctantly, since an equal marriage has nothing to do with who performs which tasks inside and outside the home. Human nature doesn't change just because society does. Exactly. Just as women are emotionally invested in the home in a unique and primal way, men have a visceral need to provide and protect. That's how most men and women gain their sense of self-worth. Guys, no joke, this morning I was chatting with a woman who's written a few articles that I've done videos on. And she sees eye to eye with me and other guys that do videos like mine. And she's from a different part of the world. She's Slavic, and we were chatting, and she said where she's from, things are way more traditional. And she grew up in a household where, she said, and I quote, her dad ruled with an iron fist. And there were lots of rules, and as she got older, she understood those rules. And as a young girl, at 10 years old, she was learning how to cook really good meals, clean, take care of her siblings, all that. And she really loves men. She loves masculine men. And in her society, they do. She said how, where she is, the community is strong, and people generally divorce, and all these negative things that happen over here, cheating and stepping out and all that, it's just not as common over there, you know? And so she does her thing, her articles, to try to help, defend guys, masculine men, and help guys find more traditional feminine women like things used to be. And she also tries to help women see that all this, what's been pushed over here, is all a bunch of crap. And so it was interesting talking to her from that perspective, because there are parts of the world where women haven't been impacted by all this bullshit over here. And so, but I thought it was very interesting. I was picking this article, and I just so happened to be, I got an email from her, and we were chatting back and forth because she writes these articles, and I was curious. Funny how things work out. Goes on to say, this is not to say no married couple can successfully navigate a role reversal. It is only to say that it's rare. Even today, approximately 30% of married women with children choose not to be employed. And in families where both parents are unemployed, 70% consist of fathers who earn more than the mothers. That's because it's natural for a woman to want to depend on her man, and it's not natural for a man to depend on a woman. No matter how hard it is to hear or how politically incorrect it may be, it still stands. Human nature is human nature, and it's not going to change. And so no matter what these type of people think they're going to push their agenda, what they think is good, it's not going to change human nature, and it's already backfiring. It may take another couple generations, unfortunately, things to go back the way they were, if enough people speak out and they see how this isn't going well. But I think the pendulum has swung way too far, and now it's starting to come back in the the proper direction, in my not so humble opinion. But it's still going to take time, guys. So it's good you guys watch this. It's good you guys talk about this. And just give it time. Be a good role model. Be a masculine man. Be a leader. Take charge. Set a good example to the younger generation. Work hard. Do all these things. And don't tolerate any shit. And speak out when you hear all this nonsense which is being pushed in this day and age. It's the only way we're going to get things back to where they once were. The article ends saying, the research from the University of Illinois, and for the record, it's not the only research with similar findings, is clear. When females were the main breadwinner in the family, they reported more symptoms of depression, but men's psychological well-being was highest when they were the primary wage earners. Societal attitudes may have changed, but human nature has not. Perhaps it's time we surrendered. Yeah, exactly. Human nature is not going to change, and we can see it again, like I just said earlier, in how things are today. So, all right, guys, I thought that'd be a good thing to go over. I know I do videos like this on this particular topic about in the household and the gender roles and how they've been trying to reverse things. And like I said, in terms of also, I mentioned this before, guys, in terms of attraction, this is one of the reasons why, everything's so off. You got men behaving like women and women behaving like men. And is there any wonder that, young guys just aren't interested like they once were? Like my generation, when I was in my teens and 20s, hooking up was the number one motivator, okay? I'm not saying it was the right one, but because back then, women actually acted like women. But nowadays, you got so many, and it starts early on because they've been brainwashing the poor kids since they were born. At this point, boys acting like girls, girls acting like boys. They're not attracted to each other. There's no polarity. And so it's a big mess out there. But anyhow, we do our part. I'm hoping, positively optimistic, things will start going back to where they already are, starting to go back slowly. It's still going to take some time. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.